Fans have quickly forgotten how dominant the Colts offense was last season with Daniel Jones at quarterback. While some folks were mocking the Colts front office for re-signing Jones at $44 million per year for 2 more seasons, I thought it was obvious that they could not lose him this offseason. Here's my case for Daniel Jones. Let's start with winning. Now, it's no secret that the Colts benefited from a very soft schedule to begin last season. Not uncommon for an AFC South team that has had one season with double-digit wins since 2018. With that being said, they were steamrolling everybody last year. Indy started the season 8-2, which is the best start to a Colts season since 2009. They lost the following 2 matchups against Kansas City and Houston, as Daniel Jones played through a fracture in his left fibula. Both were close contests. Jones tore his right Achilles during the first quarter of the next game against Jacksonville, and the Colts didn't win another game without him. Let's move on to the stats. Through week 13 of last season, the last week before Jones tore his Achilles, the Colts had the highest scoring offense in the NFL, leading the league in both points scored and points per drive. Indy, led by Jones, had 8 games where they scored at least 29 points and 4 games where they scored at least 38. Through week 13, Daniel Jones was 3rd in the NFL in passing yards and 2nd in the league in passing touchdowns. Considering the full season, Jones finished top 5 in yards per attempt, yards per completion, and completion percentage. Jones finished in 8th place for passing yards per game and 9th for passer rating. Now, I know I'm probably sounding like the world's most optimistic Daniel Jones fan. Maybe I am. But I couldn't help but be impressed by what Jones was able to do in his first year as a Colt. I think he and Shane Steichen are an incredible match. However, I'm not going to pretend that he is a perfect player. The injuries alone are quite concerning. He has now torn both his ACL and Achilles tendon in his right leg. He also missed games for a neck injury in 2021 that had to be surgically repaired. Jones is 29, and heading into his 8th season, it's not just the severity of his injuries that are concerning, but the frequency. Jones will presumably continue to have better pass protection in Indianapolis than he did in his time in New York, but football is a dangerous game. And historically, it's more likely than not that Jones will either miss some time or spend a portion of the season playing through injuries that will limit his effectiveness to some degree. Next, there's turnovers. Jones was surprisingly loose with the football last season, considering how historically efficient the scoring offense was. He had 11 total turnovers, with 3 lost fumbles and 8 interceptions. Over the course of a full season, that's really not a problem, but having only played 12 games and a quarter, it's a bit concerning. In addition, Jones fumbled 6 more times where the Colts ultimately recovered. Yikes. Turnover rate is not the end-all be-all. Guess who led the NFL in turnovers last season? Super Bowl champion Sam Darnold, so football is weird. Nonetheless, Jones will aim to take better care of the football in his second season in Steichen's offense. My final criticism of Daniel Jones is his physical limitations. Jones's mobility has been an underrated tool in his tool belt for his entire career. He's been a timely scrambler and certainly capable of buying time behind the line of scrimmage. It's difficult to project how limited Jones's mobility will be as he returns from the torn Achilles, but explosive movement often takes a long time to return to form after sustaining an injury like this. In addition, Jones's throwing velocity isn't particularly impressive. While his timing and accuracy led the Colts' passing offense to great heights last season, he didn't get it done by throwing 100-mile-per-hour laser beams. His deep ball isn't a work of art. There are throws he cannot make. While I have a lot of belief in his accuracy and his processing, these are factors that make game planning easier for defenses. You don't have to worry about quarterback runs quite as often. Don't have to worry about getting beat deep quite as often. So, did the Colts make the right decision in signing Jones for the next 2 years? Let's look at the contract. Danny Dimes will receive $44 million annually for the next 2 years, with winning-based incentives ranging up to $6 million annually if the Colts were to go all the way to the Super Bowl. Based on average annual salary, this deal makes Jones the 14th highest-paid quarterback in the NFL. Patrick Mahomes holds the top of the market deal with just over $63 million annually. Brock Purdy and Jared Goff, both considered to be quarterbacks with clear physical limitations, each bring in $53 million annually. Personally, I did not think that $44 million was an egregious amount for Daniel Jones. Considering the market, it's difficult for me to believe that he couldn't have gotten maybe $40 million elsewhere, so I get it. Also, I think the shorter 2-year deal could be a beneficial hedge for the team if Jones can't remain healthy enough to lead the team into contention. That's the contract. Now, let's consider what other options the Colts had. We must note, after starting the season 7-2, the Colts made a blockbuster trade right before the trade deadline in November. Indy acquired star corner Sauce Gardner and gave up their first-round picks for the 2026 and 2027 drafts, along with wideout A.D. Mitchell. So, considering this decision, with no first-round picks for the upcoming 2 drafts, the Colts would be unlikely to find a starting caliber quarterback via the draft. How about free agency? The top free agent quarterbacks in 2026 were Kyler Murray, Tua Tagovailoa, Malik Willis, and Kirk Cousins. Now, all those guys were much, much cheaper options. That should tell you a little something about how the league views these players. The biggest deal was Malik Willis with $22.5 million annually. Kyler and Tua are both taking the minimum salary because they're still being paid by their former teams. That, again, should tell you a little something about how the league views these players. I think Kyler Murray or Malik Willis could have been interesting, but Daniel Jones already knows this system. He already has a great connection with Shane Steichen and solid chemistry with guys like Alec Pierce and Tyler Warren. Even considering the price tag, I would favor Jones over this year's free agency pool. Lastly, Anthony Richardson. The Colts drafted Richardson with the 4th overall pick in the 2023 draft. His physical traits are incredible. 6'4", 244 pounds, huge arm, elite speed, and very hard to bring down. He is only 24 years old. AR has a very confident presence and seems to be beloved by all of his teammates. It is not an easy decision to move on from a guy like that. Unfortunately, Richardson's career in Indianapolis has gone terribly. I'm a huge Colts fan. I've been rooting for him the whole time, but it just hasn't worked. His running ability can be amazing, especially in the tight red zone. That gorgeous deep ball to Alec Pierce versus Houston is a play that I'll probably never forget. Richardson was an inexperienced player when he was drafted. He had only started for 1 season in college, and his passing ability was considered extremely raw. The Colts drafted AR with a top 5 pick because his physical potential was so great, with the intention of molding him into their franchise quarterback. Richardson needed football experience. Indy decided to start Richardson right away, with the expectation that there would be lots of bumps along the road. Translation, we aren't expecting to win many games. As the story goes, Richardson sustained multiple injuries, and after playing just 4 games, he required a season-ending surgery on his throwing shoulder. He remained the starter for the next season, but his passing ability hadn't noticeably improved because he had been rehabbing his throwing shoulder for all of his rookie season. His completion statistics were historically bad, bottom of the barrel. He sustained more injuries. Halfway through his sophomore season, there was a strange controversy where Richardson took himself off the field on a 3rd down against Houston. He admitted to the media that it was because he was tired. That was a mistake. Shane Steichen benched Richardson for 39-year-old Joe Flacco. The whole situation felt very bizarre, and the benching only lasted 2 games. AR did look slightly better when he returned. He put together a couple of clutch performances against garbage teams late in the season, but it was another year of losing football. He would miss the last 2 games of the season with back spasms. In the following offseason, the Colts signed Daniel Jones to a 1-year deal to compete for the starting job. While Richardson should have had a leg up in terms of knowing the offense and having existing connections with teammates, he re-aggravated his throwing shoulder and had to miss the offseason program. Jones was ultimately named the starter. Look, Richardson's physical ability and personality make him nearly impossible to give up on. I'm still rooting for him, but this is the business of winning. Personally, as a fan, I have a lot more fun when my team is winning. In fact, I don't know if I have any fun when they lose. I'm a passionate fan. The Colts had something special last season on offense. I'm not talking about a few plays, I'm talking about domination against NFL opponents for 12 weeks. There's no guarantee that it's going to look like that again. Recovery from the Achilles is going to be tough. The schedule looks brutal, but they were remarkable with Daniel Jones at quarterback. You cannot let him go to start from 0 or to restart a project. Why do you need a project if the veteran quarterback in your building can make you the highest scoring offense in the NFL? That's my take on Indiana Jones and the latest contract. It is worth mentioning, since Jones signed his new deal, Richardson has requested a trade from the Colts to hopefully get a fresh start elsewhere. Indy hasn't received an offer that they're willing to accept. Richardson did report for the offseason workouts. The team says that AR will compete for the backup position with second-year quarterback Riley Leonard. It's still unclear how things will shake out for Richardson and if a deal could potentially materialize before week 1. For now, he remains a Colt, and this is the last year of his rookie contract. That's all for now. Thanks for listening to Indy Sports Yap. I'm Ben Holland. Peace out.